Well, hello there. Welcome to a fine day in Kent, Washington, where the spring rains are upon us and making everything pop green. After the cross-country trip I just did, I realize how blessed I am that we get to enjoy spring a little earlier than most. Yeah, I'll step out of the way so you can see a little bit of that going on. My apple trees blossoming over there. Let's see, can I pull you around to see that better? Yes, I can. Well, if I can get the pull out of the way, there we go. Apple trees blossoming. I've got other fruit trees that I've recently planted that are also budding, and some are even blossoming. I've got a white fence around the one to protect it from the donkey and the goat when we let them out. But that's a peach tree and it's blossoming. The chickens have been greeting everybody this morning. So let's bring you on into the smithy. You can see I've already got a fire started. I learned my lesson from last week. I now know exactly what it takes to make for a good fire. And the trick is basically, let's get you down to where you can see where I'm going to be. There we go. The trick is basically start with a good old charcoal fire after moving all of the coke out of the way, and then pull the coke back over it, and lo and behold, it all just comes up right as rain. Here, we'll go ahead and stoke the fire a little bit. As a matter of fact, let's adjust the fire cam for you so you can come warm yourself by the fire. I've already done some cooking of new coke in here, cooking the coal into coke. So we can get right on it. If you're looking at the anvil right now, here I'll bring you into a better view of the anvil. You'll see, train's being loud. You'll see some of the work we did last week. We take this out of the way for a second. You might recognize this spike if you were here last week. If you weren't, or if this is your first time in, thanks for stopping by. Everybody's welcome here, and that's one thing to note. You also note that I'm not touching this spike right now because I've already had it in the fire. And the first rule of blacksmithing, if you walk into my shop, you should know this, that all metal is hot. So never grab anything you see that's made of metal, because there's a good chance you'll walk away with a little less skin. This has already been in the fire. And the reason it was been in the fire is, you might recall last week, this leaf, which I had started working off the same spike, I've learned just how fast coal will get smaller areas hot enough to burn off. And so it did that. And this was tapered for the purposes of keeping the stem on there. And this morning, to make sure I had the fire ready for y'all, I forged that taper back in again so I can make a fresh taper and try this all over again, creating a different leaf on the end and create a bottle opener with that. So let's first take this leaf, which I can't currently work with, as you might recall. I don't have tongs that can close in on this small stock at the moment. But that'll be remedied in the second half of the show. And if we'll set this aside for now and put it over here where the tong blank that I worked on last week is. Show you that real quick. I remembered this week that I forgot one thing, which I'll resolve. It'd be easy to resolve, and that is that this set down here needs to be angled. Otherwise, a pair of tongs will bind when it is paired with the other identical half. So we got to work on that. Easy fix. And then I'll make the other tongs. I also have to finish the ball end on that and do some smoothing of the rounding, maybe even bring the rounding down a little bit further. But first, let's get this back in the fire. And get some progress made on, we can do it this way, get some progress made on a new leaf, as we do every week at the top of the show. If you're curious as to what I'm going to do with that railroad spike, it's going to be something very similar to this, where I create the leaf, I create the stem, I bend it around, and then I put the lip in that's necessary to catch the underside of the bottle cap. You'll have your lever side, your lifter side, and then over here will be the railroad spike. So let's set that out of the way. Let's get to making some fire. One thing I notice about working with coal is the fire pixies don't get quite as angry with me. I have to appreciate that. Seems like it's a preferred fuel, and they just go along with getting things nice and hot. The first thing we're going to do when we get this out of the fire is go ahead and make as steep a taper as I can on the end of the railroad spike, so that I have as small a leaf as I can make with this big a piece of stock. I don't want I want the leaf to be about the size you saw earlier, which, by the way, that was also made with a railroad spike. Now, this has been out of the fire for a little bit, but you can see it's already getting the orange. We'll get into the bright orange here in a minute. Got a really good fire going already. So nobody has to sit here watch me make the fire. It was so easy to do. Now that I know how it's done, I might start the stream a little early next week so people can see that happen, because I do admit that I don't see enough discussion on getting working with a coal fire, what it takes to get it started. Rain's coming down pretty hard today, fortunately, with the design of my smithy. Even though it's an open air smithy, I'm protected from the elements, and so is my electronics. The floor is damp. This area does retain a little water. We might do something about that in the future by pouring concrete inside the frame. Get things up off the dirt floor a little bit. And if I do that, I'll probably put some anchors in so that my stump here can be anchored. I did learn last week that things were a little bit too shifty, but I also learned today that part of that is because the bolts on my anvil have gotten a little loose, so that's something I'll remedy after the stream. Let's see how hot we got. Try not to take the piece of coal that's there with me. Oh yeah, nice and hot. Let's see if we can forge a nice sharp taper. There we go, nice sharp taper. And then we can go over here, isolate a block, set it down, go over on the other side where I know the set down will make sure I don't cause a strange pinch. Turn it. Do it again. Let's go get some more heat. So hopefully, watching from the tire shop waiting room. Uh-oh, trail dust. I hope that's a good thing, that like you're taking off the snow tires and switching to, all-weather tires, all-season tires instead. I love how fast Coke gets everything up to temp. That's definitely hot enough to forge, but as I just used some of that time, new tires long overdue. Gotcha. All right. Just to make sure I got a good No chance that should end up becoming a fold over. Nice. All right, I can stop there. We can start working on thinning that out. Get a little deeper in the fire for that. So the skills for doing this are only a slight modification off of what it is to do a key ring. In other words, I'm still making a leaf, still making a stem. All of that is identical. Oh, the cobra ducks just flew by. What is going to change is the way that I bend the stem, and the fact that after a little bit here, I'll break out this, as that's my little round chisel. You know, oftentimes you'll see people use a chisel for this. I mean, not a chisel. Yeah, I guess a chisel. Instead, I just decided to use that as a top tool. And I'll push down the part that becomes the lip that lifts off the lid. And got close again. It's very, very easy to get things too hot in there. Won't, no doubt that I'm going to be able to forge weld. All right. Let's see. Come on. Let's see. Is this going to be easier to do this way? It might be. As long as I don't slip and hit the leaf, it might be. Got to get it deeper in the fire though now, because I don't want to heat the leaf lump. Wow. I hear the geese, but I'm shielded from being able to see them. They're busy overhead today. That's an easy way to get it to turn the fire. Did you have a good week, Trail Dust? There we go. All right, let's go back over here. All right. Being real careful right now not to accidentally twist things or... There we go. All right. Looks good. We'll thin it out just a little more and then we'll start rounding it. Is this part of the retirement plan? And I see I'm being really loud. Let me cut that back just a little bit. People's ears aren't being hurt. That's looking better. Glad to hear the review went well. It's always nice to know when you know, folks value what you're doing. There we go. All right. You'll notice I'm not wailing on this because I got to a thin enough spot that if I wail on it, I'll mess it up. All right, smooth out the lumpity lumps. We use the face of the anvil to make sure that happens more consistently. right, let's take a look at my reference piece. We'll go from back here. No, not as long as it needs to be yet. Might have to bring some from back here out yet, but we'll see. It also can stand to be just a little bit thinner. It's coming along though. Tasif, I hope you're watching. And Brody, hope you're watching too. And already, I got my exercise goal in for today. Clear off some of these notifications. That way I know when really important ones from my wife come in. Not worried about that. Not worried about that. Twitch telling me that I can manage this from my phone, and I'm like, I'm already managing it. Thank you very much. This afternoon. And done. Okay, let's get some more metal hot. Oh, believe me, I work in tech. And most of the time, the people I'm working with are about the age of my kids. So I definitely understand being the in the kiddie pool, the old guy in the kiddie pool. It's both a blessing and a curse. If you find yourself in the wrong group, they exclude you from things. If you find yourself in the right group, you got the opportunity to learn from young minds how they see things. Personally, I've never been the one to hang out with people in my own age group anyway. Oftentimes, they always feel like they're at the end of their learning curve, and I'm always at the beginning of mine. Younger than your kids, yeah. That'll be happening to me soon. May already be happening, and I'm in denial. Let's go back over here. Turn it in the direction that offers the least amount of risk to my leaf. And yeah, you can see that I'm forging in the black quite a bit now, but that's because the material is so thin, it cools off very fast and is still pliable enough to do so. You can see where the mass is, it's still a dull cherry red. Literally at this heat, if I keep forging it, I will actually heat it up. So instead of striking it while it's hot, I can strike it to make it hot. All right, let's check it again. Knowing I got to do the set down right about there. Oh, let's get that back right again. There we go. That's more like it. I can draw it out just a little bit more right here. But I have a suspicion that if I just go start to round it up, I'll get the extra little length I want and be done with that part. Let's go ahead and get it nice and deep in the fire so I get that part hot. Ah, my turkey, one of my hens is walking around in front of me. I really got to give them names, I think. Unfortunately, our Tom is going to see his last day today or tomorrow. He killed too many of my hens and then tried to kill one of my prized roosters. So he is now going to become an unnamed dinner instead of a named pet. I hate to say that, but for anybody out there who doesn't understand, apologies. For those of you who do understand, you know what's going on. You can't have your pets being killed by one of your pets. Teaching old Smith new tricks. Well, if he's any good, you'll probably catch something that he does different. So, I'm sure. Ah, I did it again. How is it that easy to do that? Oh my gosh. Well, no bottle opener today. I'll have to get those up to forge temperatures and properly forge that back in again. My goodness. Well, that's probably not becoming a bottle opener because that's getting to the point where now it's too short. Dag nabbit. All right. Well, I didn't think I gabbed that much, but when it gets that thin, it happens really fast. Let's turn up the lump of metal that's in there. See if I can do like I did with the other one and save it for a future project, like making the key ring that I normally make. Well, first I got to find the lump of metal, don't I? Oh, that's why it's probably way back there. I might have to go searching for it another time. Well, darn. One of these days I'll learn to stop running. There it is. Stop running my mouth and just be much more aware when it gets that small how fast it can get hot and come right off. All right. I'll end up dressing that up again late. Oop. There's the first drink of the day. Mine is going to be a drink of water. It's time. It's overdue for me to have a drink of water anyway. So fast that comes off. All right. In that case, we'll switch gears. That is the end of my leaf making part of this episode. I am slowly learning the challenges of working with coal and small stuff. It heats up way faster than I'm used to. But half the fun is talking to folks. Nope. Put that away. Get the other tongs. Grab that. Put it up here. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'll show you real quick. I'm just setting the hot stuff up on top of the hot forge. While the rule is all metal is hot, it's pretty good reminder if you set it in a hot place that all metal is hot. So That's what I'm doing. Because even I forget from time to time. I've just gotten really good at withdrawing my hand fast as soon as I even get the hint that it's hot. But the better plan is don't have ADHD, and remember the first rule of blacksmithing. Okay. You can see I piled up a nice big pile of coal behind my coke. And what I learned in getting fire started is just to push the whole thing back into the backside of my forge, start a small fire, and then pull it forward again over the top of that fire. If I use charcoal to start the fire, then I can use the blower to make that charcoal really hot, and it gets the coke going. So that's my plan going forward. Let's see, I need the blank. There it is. Actually, let's finish the job with the other one since we got a little bit of time here. That didn't take me very long to get to almost ready to have a leaf before I mess that up. Let's go ahead and get this in the fire and finish making that look more like a ball rather than a lump of abused metal. And let's see if I can actually hold on to it today, considering I'm not working that side yet. I'm going to put the tool rest back in. Come on. And get that drink of water out I just forgot about that fast. ADHD. It's a constant companion. All right, there's where I want it. Drink of water. Absolutely love working with coal. I love being able to walk away from it. It goes out, I come back, I still have fuel. I just get started all up again. I planned on getting back here, working it some more during the week, but the week got away from me between work and family duties. And I just never got back out here to finish this for the Blacksmithing Challenge, the weekly Blacksmithing Challenge. If you're watching this channel and you're just getting started, you definitely need to go over to Facebook, assuming you have an account. It might be a good reason to go ahead and have a private account that you don't do anything except, follow certain pages. And go find the weekly Blacksmith Challenge. It's a great place to get ideas when you're sitting there starting out new, unless you're an extremely artistic person to start with, and then you discover what's really lacking isn't ideas but skills. When you're first getting started, oftentimes it's, what can I do? What should I do that can build the right skills? And if you go to Weekly Blacksmith Challenge, you will find answers to that question, as they basically put out a different project every week, and it's the winner of previous challenge gets to set what the next challenge is, and then the community submits photos of what they've made and the process steps they took along the way, process pics they took along the way, videos if they have it. I posted mine. Obviously I didn't get mine done, but the point being, it's a great place to get ideas. If you have a competitive bent, then great, get it up there for that reason. If you don't have a competitive bent, but you want to see how people did things, then there's that reason to get up there. But you'll not run out of ideas if you just sign up for that page, and they're a very welcoming community. Let's put this away. It doesn't appear that I'm going to need this for a little bit. And so you can get in there. And start. Let's get this to octagon. Get off corners wherever I see corners. That's the whole process of this, is just Keep forging until what you see are corners no longer are corners. For the folks on Twitch, you'll understand this as, especially if you've been around like I have, I'm a long-time gamer, you'll learn that this is, you know, getting rid of your polygons. When I'm trying to take this square stocked around, it's exactly the same thing. Trying to make a cube into a ball, same thing. So there you go. I need to move the ball that way a little bit, so let's warm all that up and make that happen. Let me see. Yes, there is smoke, but it's not as hazy as that looks to me. So let's see if it's because I've got a need to clean. Yeah, some of it looks like it might have been that. I'll take it up here. Use my soft leather. There we go. It is still hazy, but maybe not quite as hazy as before. I'm always going to be testing whether or not the end here that I'm holding is still cool enough to hold by just giving it light touches. Because heat will travel, at which point I'll quench the area. Actually, I do want to get it a little hotter because there's some areas there where I'm worried a little bit of forge welding is necessary. A little fish lipping going on. And I'm not going to be able to stop that from happening. I can always grind it cleaner, but I always really attempt to forge to finish. Try to grind as little as possible. I see a little bit of cleanup work I need to do on the width at this end. It's a little too wide all the way up the handle. Yep, there we go. Forge welding temperature. That spark got all the way back to me. And that ball is starting to look like it's more where it belongs. There we go. Delineate the ball's location. Now, I'm not saying I'm doing this right. It's my first time doing a ball end. And as beginners out there watching this, you should know that right is, do you get the result you want? It isn't necessarily, did you have the best technique? There's always the ability to improve technique. Cool off this end. Make sure that the heat isn't traveling all the way down. My water temp is probably somewhere between 50 and 60 degrees right now because the outside temperature is about 50 degrees, but the highs are getting up near 70 here now. Let's not put it as deep in the fire. There we go. I am having a ball. Just haven't broke out the Mozart. break up the sticky chunks of coke so that they can actually be more useful in the creation of heat. For those who are just joining my channel for the first time, I'm working with coal. I had been working with charcoal because this forge is developed to create its own charcoal from dry wood. That's the reason for the V shape in here. But my buddy who just did the road trip with me said I needed to try out coal, and his brother ended up giving me a couple of bags of coal, and now I'm a convert. I'll still use charcoal in a pinch. It's what I started with when I was a blacksmith with this group, charcoal. But man, the benefits of working with coal is amazing. And the first process in using coal is turning the coal into something that actually creates the heat you need, which is coke. Now, I'm probably not using the right side of my hammer, the correct side of my hammer for that, but I really wanted to forge in a little bit, so I used the rounding side of my hammer for a change. And you can see, especially as it cools off, you can see it, that because I didn't start with a clean end to begin with, I've got this fold in here. And I probably am not going to get rid of that. It'll probably be a remnant of the process. But I do now have a bald end, which I can definitely clean up some more with either files or with the grinder. I'll probably use the grinder. I'll continue to push in because it's not quite as round as I want. Right about here there's a peak that I don't want. But it's coming along pretty well there. It's looking more and more like a ball. Are you not using headphones this time? Because the ding ding, it's not as loud as it could be, but it's still loud enough. Christy and Garrett K. Looks like you're... So that's who said that. I thought it was Trail Dust. Wait a minute. Garrett? As in Gilbert and Sullivan? Hey, Francisco. Thank you. Yeah, I realized that I was missing an audience with the LinkedIn crowd. That I've before stated that I do this, and then suddenly Restream said, "Hey, you know you can stream to LinkedIn, right?" And I'm like, "Well, you said that before, and why didn't I do it? I have no good reason." So glad to see you join, Francisco. There we go. That's definitely not having that peak anymore. And every time I do a little bit more, it feels more and more like the shape of a ball. I should have known with that bad pun it was my buddy Garrett. As in volume, or just the fact that, yeah, I have turkeys, I have chickens, I have geese flying over, I have the neighbor's roosters, my little rooster. Is Christy also watching, or is it just happen that's the name of your channel? I do see that occasionally I'm still hitting the yellow, so I'm going to back it down just a hair more. Hi, Christy. So now I have to ask Garrett, because I never asked you this before. Is she a fan of your puns, or does she just put up with it? Oh, you know it, Earl. We'll flip it around so, you know, Fire Creek Forge, if they happen to trip across the channel, sees it, and you guys all know where it's coming from. Okay. You probably missed the part, Earl, where I again burnt off my leaf due to overheating the stem. And I think that's about as good of a ball as I need to make. I am pretty happy with that. It's fairly well centered. I probably could continue hammering on it just to smooth it. That is 2 times where I burnt the leaf off the off of the spike that I was working with. So that spike is no longer going to be a leaf keychain. Well, if it is, it's going to be a really short one. We'll see. But now I have 2 partially finished leaves that both need this this blank that I've got here. All right, so what I was noticing was this area is thicker than this area, which is the boss, and so it all needs to be uniform. So now I think what I'm gonna do, as to minimize the potential for stresses, and this is looking nice and straight now. Any more round on that, it will probably be just a grind. I think I'm going to round it some more up into here, about that far, but I think I need to take out that width first. This means this set of tongs is going to be even a little longer than I expected. I've already mentioned that I have to do a little bit of work right in here because this needs to be at a diagonal, and I forgot to do that when I did my set down. Let me remember how that's done. I think it's like this. I'm trying to remember if it's this way or this way. Actually, I think it's this way. So I need to push this metal in this way to get the set down I'm looking for. And rather than jumping straight to that, I think I'm going to let this one just cool and start on the next one. Where will I put it? I'll put it over here on the fire bricks. All right, and that way I'll be somewhere where I remember it is at, and I can start that back up again. All right, both of these are nice and clean. So what caused that ball to have that fish lip was I didn't have these ends nice and clean. This was where it was, and the fold over happened. I don't think that should be a problem this time. Number one, I could just start with the set down of the nibs on this side this time. There's really no reason not to. And this side's little bit of smallness right here will work out fine for creating the ball end, so without having the fish lips. So I think that's what I'll do, is I'll heat this side up and set it down. This time though, I am going to need tongs. The only way I would not need tongs is if I drew out the handle first. And even then, I would still need tongs. So, to get it started. Let's start there. Let's drag some Coke in on top of this. And it only took, like, I don't know, 30 seconds to get to the point where that happened, Earl. So we'll end up cleaning that up after a bit. Knock it in, get it up to forging temperature, which will be way too fast. Knock it in if possible. And whatever breaks off, breaks off. Turn it into a stem that I, again, won't be able to hold until I get the tongs done. Get ready with your preferred drink of the hour. This is about the time when I start dropping things. All the more reason I need to make a lot more tongs. It's not as bad as this one. I don't remember when I did that one, but that one's really bad. You can barely tell there was a leaf there. But I'm pretty sure that was pre-coal. So even with charcoal, I was able to goof it up, but that took longer to do. Well, I don't see Christy had answered, but it really doesn't matter because she must like the guy enough to stick around, and I love the puns, so keep up with the puns. I mean, you don't have to court me, but I'm just saying. Really? You're at a shop that doesn't even offer water? Coffee? Slackers. All right, here we go. First set down. How much do I think I need? That's always the hard question to answer. Let's not goof it up. And there's drop one. All right, let's see if I can get a better grip. Get a grip on it, Jack. There we go. And if I need to pull it further back, I will. Let's take a look at the blank that I've got. Oh yeah, I'll probably have to pull that back. We'll see. Easy enough to do. It's all about making something that's consistent with the original. She tolerates it because you cook. Wink, wink, nod, nod, say no more. All right, let's make sure we got some coal cooking. Get some of that sulfur smoke coming at us. Can't have the eau de Vulcan without that. There we go, good cooking. I wouldn't want to smoke any meats over that, but could definitely fry an egg. Yep, thought that might happen. Very easy to get it very hot very fast. All right, definitely not long enough, so we'll go ahead and bite off a little more and bring it out. Make sure which, yep, this was the side I had kept cool. Bring it over here so you can see. Not quite long enough. We'll take a bigger bite of it. Thickness-wise, it's about right. And yes, that stuff is hot to get your hand near. All right. There we go. Now, both of these tong blanks, the half of the tongs I'm creating, started as railroad spikes. And now that I know that I've got some folks here who hadn't been here before. All right, so I need to come back here, set down a little bit further back. If you didn't know it, all parts of an anvil are used in the process of blacksmithing. All right, there's your second opportunity to grab a drink of your favorite beverage. Let's get a hold of this good. All right. Go ahead and round that up so that I don't create a stress riser there. And now the nib's probably too long, but that's okay because I can grind away the extra. the one downside of trying to do this is it's hard to know if you didn't plan it ahead of time. And when you're winging it, because you don't know what the right dimensions are, it's hard to plan ahead of time. You'll end up with some minor inconsistencies along the way. Some of it's very easy to avoid, some of it's not. Yeah, okay. There we go. Let's get over here, see if I can hold it well enough. Actually, let's do it right here. Yeah, it's working perfectly. All right, that's a length of nib that I can actually use to hold things with. And for those who've not heard the term stress riser before, what that basically means is when a piece of metal has a weakness that's caused by folding or pinching, it's an area that will get a lot of the stress when put to use. And so the goal is to minimize those so you don't have what's happened to me previously, which is your tongs break in use. All right. And it's pretty close. That's good. All right, so next we're going to do the turn and pivot. We're going to see if we can remember exactly the right way to do that. Let's take a look at ones that are here. And they don't even bother. So what I'm trying to make sure is that things don't get bound. And now I'm looking at this, which is a pair of professionally made tongs. They don't have the 45-degree business going on, so I suppose it's not necessary. The worst I would have to do is some grinding to make sure that the key thing, though, is I can't remember if the 45 is in this direction or the 45 is in this direction, but my gut says it's in this direction. However, before I even think about that, let's make sure I'm even turning it in the right way. I am. Okay. We're turning this way. And we're going to validate that with the pair of tongs I have. We start that way, and then we turn this way and set down. I do remember the right angle. So let's make that happen. Can't hear me. Okay. And no, I don't have the shepherd's hook finished because I need to go and buy some oxygen for my oxyacetylene torch. Can you hear me any better now? No? How about now? There. Why is my mic being less than... Let me see. Is there an adjustment over here I need to hit? Yeah. There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay. It was at the receiver. It was throttling me. Ta-da. Let's bump that down. Bump that down. There we go. Okay. That's better. It means the rest of the world's going to be louder, but that's fine. How you doing, Jay? Yeah, so let me show you what's going on with that. You see the forge, I'll bring you into the Smithy's view so you can get a bigger picture of it. And I'll adjust this so you can see the forge even better. You can see the face of the forge right now in the fire cam. I'll even pull back a little bit so you can see it even better. Let's get this. You see it, there you go. And then you can see me trying to demonstrate how hard it's going to be to work with this 10-foot of rebar in this forge. Like, it's not possible. I'd done some courtesy bends early on. I think you were there when I did that. To be able to work on, I'll bring you back over here into the smithy. There we go. Early on, I did some courtesy bends, these two here, so that I could work on this end. And this end is almost done. There's a little bit of cleanup work I want to do on it, and then to do the scroll and the final bends. This end, on the other hand, yeah, it has some work to do. And so, yeah, I could cut and weld it, obviously, but frankly, I really just wanted to do it as a blacksmith project, not as a welding project. But I will still be able to do it as a blacksmith project if I get some oxygen for my oxyacetylene torch. I don't think my little propane torch has the BTUs necessary to heat this up and make the bends. I'm probably going to put that to the test just to see. I think there are different tips I can get that might make it possible. I've seen folks do it. I just don't know for sure. And if that's the case, instead I'll use my big propane and I'll get one of those propane savers. I've got the propane line here, and I'll get a propane saver, and then I'll get it going that way. So there's either way, I've got to make some purchases to get this job done. So, and I've had so much going on that remembering to make the purchase ahead of the scheduled live stream keeps slipping my mind. So that's what's going on with that. It bugs me every time I come out here that I've again forgotten to take some action so I can make some progress on that project. But it'll happen. Wash off the rust from my hands. Oh, thank you. Did you take a photo? Might be the only way I get to visit from is through the times you do. That might change soon. We'll see. Now that travel's back on for work, I actually get to travel to Dublin the week after next, I believe it is. Thank you. Oh, what's the new job? I didn't expect you to ever leave the company you were working for, because even though you said that you could do better, you liked what you were doing, who you were doing it with. And you know me, I don't have time for feeling guilty, but you know, I miss her and visit with her my own way. Well, I don't expect you to ever give up the drywall business. Too damn good at it. All right, a little bit more. Matter of fact, let's get a little deeper in the fire too. So if you're working for Missouri now, it is Missouri, right? Yeah. That means you're staying put for a while. All right, we come over here, and we start this set down. And we remember to make the angle that we're supposed to make. Let's actually get half on, half off. Let's not drop it. Not that I don't mind you guys taking the drinks you're looking to take, but oh yeah, flip it over and you might spread it faster that way, Jack. Good, good. That's what I forgot to do last time. Got it right this time. There we go. Got a nice boss there. And next, if I remember correctly, let's take a look. Best to, it was this, this, this. Yep. Keep rotating counterclockwise. All right. Next week, I won't be here. I just remembered. I actually have an annual, first full weekend in May kind of thing. The Quiute tribe opens up a resort that they have, and for the last couple of years, for pandemonium reasons, they did not open it. But I end up going out to the Washington shore and looking at the ocean and watching the dolphins and whales play in the surf, and just getting away from tech and all over the world for a little bit. So yeah, I will not be here next week. I'm glad you said something, Trail Dust, or I might have forgotten anyway. But happy 45th anniversary. Oh, that reminds me, I got to show you what I got for my anniversary. Let me switch to the Anvil, because honestly you need to see this, and I'm about to blow my brother's mind, because he probably thought this would never happen. So Christina got the matching one on her right arm. This is on my left arm. So we can sit side by side. You have to tell Jeremy. You probably need to message him and tell him what the hell is he not doing on Twitch so he can see this. Maybe even let Marnie know. That's one of those who are you and what did you do with my brother moments, isn't it? Hey, bro. Well, 15 years, we haven't killed each other, and we're looking forward to at least another 15 years. So if we make it to 45, my mind will be blown, Trail Dust. Mainly because it means I lived that long. Well, I tell you, I didn't think that the tattoo was fun. I didn't get an adrenaline rush, and I'm not in a rush to go back and get another one. But it wasn't bad. It was like walking through some stickers, over and over and over again. All right, let's do that third set down. Right about, let's see. Let's get some comparative sizing here. Well, I did a better job of spreading it this time than I did last time, which means I might have to do some adjustment. But that being said, looks like where I need to set it down is right there. Let's see if I got that right or if I need to adjust. If I adjust, it's probably going to be the other one I have to adjust. Well, I probably went a little too short. This is the problem of not coming up with measurements ahead of time. Good thing is I have still a bunch of mass to work through here, so. And when I open up the hole, things will spread a little bit too. So, let's get it back in the fire. Yep. And with the fire cam. How did I manage to unloop that? Let's fix that. There's that. And there's that. There we go. And then that to here. Gets locked in under here. There we go. Now it shouldn't fall again. All right. And now this is nice and cold and I can do the thinning out of this side. We will work on that next. That ball actually came out pretty well. I'm pretty proud of that. And only the tiniest little remnant, the fact that I had some fish slipping going on right there. So, bring it closer so you can see it. New tires, hit the road. Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Ah, hold on, Karen. Let's see if we can get it at an angle that doesn't glare. There you go. 2 fingerprints, thumbprints, whatever. And 15 to mark 15 years. Later we'll mark it out and do 20 and who knows. Or maybe we'll wait and do 30. Thank you, Karen. Christina, like I said earlier, has one just like it. On her right arm. This is on my left arm. I don't know if I'm hurting your ears every time I go into the yellow or not, so. Doo-doo-doo. All right, there we go. Hey, Jeremy, is Beth there to see it too? So for anyone not familiar with how coal works, it seems to me that the fire you're seeing on top is not the coke burning, but the coal cooking. And it's the volatiles coming off that you're seeing seeing the flame keep. And the reason I say that is every time I mess with this, I notice that I've got a bunch of clumps, and the clumps are the fact that the pea coal, the little tiny lumps of coal, cook into coke and become all stuck together, and they're very light things that are basically, it's like popcorn. That's the process is very similar. They become very light, like pumice. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, we got plenty there. All right. There we go, that corrected that. I knew it would. I'm going to put a little bit of flux right where I see the potential for a stress riser, because all I need is and flux is just a little bit of, I think it's 20 mule borax, and it'll flow into any cracks and make it so that any impurities, like the forge scale that develops, gets pulled out as I get it up to a very hot temperature. So we're going to get it deep in the fire where that is, and we're going to get some really hot temperatures going in there, potentially at a sparkler level. Well, I have no idea what that's about. I don't know if everybody sees that. Let me see. Love you too, brother. For some reason, I got a weird message from Stream Elements. I'm not going to worry about it. You guys didn't see it, or did you? Let me see. Oh, yeah, you did. I have no idea what that's about. Stream Elements, I kind of trust. They're where I get the graphics and functionality you see on the borders. But use your best judgment if you decide you're going to follow that link. I did not make that happen. And I did not know Stream Elements would throw advertising in here, so. All right. Let's see. I like this here. This here. All right. Now I'm not tripping over it. Back to what I was doing, which was, I'm curious to know how hot. I see a spot here I can shoot in. It's getting such that it's causing me to have trouble looking at it. How's it going? You can either stand on the outside, or I can give you an apron and goggles, and you can come on in and see stuff from the inside.
I'll stand up here for a second.
Okay.
I don't want to get in the way.
All right, let's see how hot it claims it's getting in there. Well, there's 1700 degrees. I'm pretty sure it's able to get hotter than that because I'm able to get to forge welding. I'm pretty sure that's even hotter than 1700. There's 1800. And I think I see sparklers, which means it's time to pull out. Yep. There's my forge welding temperature. And there's the sign that it worked. All right. Good, good. Whew, that's freaking hot. I don't want to have my hand anywhere near that. Now I understand why they throw on gloves every time they do forge welding. Whew. All right. If you're curious to know what I'm making, assuming I actually did it right, so it was this, this, and then this. And let's get that back where it belongs. There we go. That's back where it belongs. Okay. So, I've got a guest here today due to family visiting. And he's watching from outside, so I'm going to take a second to show him what I've been up to. Stay there. One thing to know, in a blacksmith shop, the assumption is all metal is hot.
Oh, yeah.
So if you see something sitting on top of my anvil, for example, don't ever go reaching for it, because I could be leaving it like...
Even though that's not glowing red, that's still a few hundred degrees right now.
Oh, it's more than a few hundred. It's probably around, yeah, it's probably around 500 to 800 degrees.
So what temperatures does it start glowing like that?
If I remember correctly, it's around 1,000. If one of my stream folks remembers, then that'll be cool. But this is what I'm making, the other half of this.
Oh, awesome. Those are the tongs you were talking
Correct.
about.
So here's an example of, these aren't flat jaws, but you know, it's the same concept. You know, make the set downs the way I'm seeing them. Punch a hole in there, which will actually make all of this just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then, having done the exact same thing on that side, rivet the two together.
And that's what you use the train spike for?
This is what I use the spike for, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I use 2 spikes, like these. I forged the heads in, I didn't cut them off.
Oh, wow.
And what I was just doing was taking the part where the head, I can't help but have some fold over on the head. Foldovers are bad because They're basically weak spots.
Okay.
They're what are referred to in the industry as stress risers.
Okay.
Because every time you use that tool, some amount of pinching goes on. It causes then stress. So if it's like this, you know, it's a normal stress.
Yeah.
But if it's like this, then you get a lever effect happening. So then you get more stress at the bottom than you would have otherwise.
Gotcha. Okay.
And same way, if you're going this way with it, well, now you've got that weak spot because it's not actually a solid piece. And so, stress risers.
Gotcha. Okay.
So what you're going to see here, I'm about to show you, is a little bit of the burnt metal. That sparks are not good. Let's use this as a pointer. But right in here, you can see bubbles.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
That's where the metal actually burned.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is give it a good brush off, put it back in the fire, get it up to a nice temperature. You can see a little bit of it right here too. Oh, it's hot.
It's got some heat to it.
And then basically smooth it out, get it back into the right shape.
Gotcha.
You'll see this. I need to bend this way a little bit to get it to like that, but that's not a real big deal. This whole thing needs to go that way a little bit. All of this is very easy to make happen though.
Gotcha.
And then my next step is to all except at the end here, turn it into a square rod.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And this one's going to get thinned out a little bit. This direction. This direction it'll probably grow a little bit, and that's fine. But this direction I want to be I want it to be consistent to this width. So it'll go back in the fire, and I'll make that happen.
Gotcha. So then, is this down here at the bottom? Is this another piece of metal?
This is all the same.
This is all the same piece.
All the same piece.
Okay. Wow. So then, will you stretch out that part to match it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's what I'm about to start. I'm going to do the cleanup work here first, and then you'll see if you got the 15 minutes to hang out, you'll see the process of me drawing that out. You're welcome to come over here, and you can feel free to close that, to lean on it if you want to. But first, let me clean this bit up so that I'm going to use my little S-hook I need to repair that I made. That goes right here real nice and makes it so I don't have to hold on to the tongs. All right, let's go ahead and clean this up. Okay, so some interesting things. You know, some of the folks online, you'll know that you've heard some of this before, but the fact is, I've got somebody who's never seen it before, so I'm going to tell him a little bit about what's going on. What I've got going on here, I'm going to go ahead and step in and I'm going to show you. First off, this, you know, is coal, peat coal. And I'm going to give you a piece of this, a couple pieces. You'll feel the kind of weight we're talking about.
Oh,
Okay? And the solidity of it. And then I'm going to go way up here on a piece that is cooked. There we go. That one's too much. There we go. Let's give you something that's of a similar size. There we go. That piece will do. I'm doing it cautiously at first so that I can then put it here. It will cool very fast because it turns out if you're not supplying oxygen to coke, and I'll explain that in a minute, it doesn't burn.
Oh. So like with charcoal, it'll keep on burning like in a grill. It just
Yep.
will stay hot. But
It'll keep on burning, and it will burn all the way to ash and gone. This will just stop.
Interesting.
So every now and then I got to give it a crank, or else it will go out. And there's heat underneath right now, so some of the reason you put coke on top is insulation, so the heat stays.
Gotcha.
And because there's the heat there, I can start supplying oxygen again, and it'll get going again. Yeah, cools very fast. Now take the other hand, because you're going to see.
Wow.
This is like one of these.
Yeah.
It turns into like a popcorn, and even if it's two of them, it basically turns into popcorn and sticks together.
Interesting.
You have to cook coal to become coke, and coke is what provides the heat we need for forging.
So this is now coke, you call
Correct.
it, and these are like pieces
That's
of
pure
coal.
coal, yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And what you're doing is you're getting rid of the impurities and getting pure carbon.
Oh, okay. So this is basically pure carbon at
Yeah.
this point?
And then that still has sulfur in it and so forth. So when you first smell, I mean, you probably smell it now anyway, but when you first smell a coal fire, and you're starting to smell it right now because I've pulled some of the coal forward, you'll smell that sulfur coming off. A lot of times it's sulfur in coal. And there'll be other things too. There'll be metals, there'll be just dirt. And all of that ends up becoming either cooking off, and you get the smoke, or it becomes clinkers, aka little lumps of unburnable stuff in your fire.
Huh.
And over time, you just have to clean out your fire and pull that out.
Interesting. So it's just kind of like the random metals that have burned down off of it that are just kind of hanging out there?
Yep.
Interesting.
All right, let's clean this up. There's that. There's that.
And so you're just kind of banging off all of that popcorn smell that you're
Right,
talking about?
exactly.
Gotcha.
And I will end up getting it hot enough again so that it can actually forge weld, but hopefully not get it so hot that it does that again.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, while it's still a little hot, this is just Team Borax, 20 mule Team Borax. And all it does is makes it so whatever impurities, including the impurities of forge scale, and I'll explain that in a minute, wants to pop off and come away from the metal rather than stay on the metal that you're trying to actually forge weld. We refer to it as flux, but it's not fancy stuff. And you see it becomes glassy, and if I put it over the fire here, it'll just melt right in.
Whoa. When I was walking up, you said you have the temperature there at about 1700 degrees.
And it'll get even hotter than that. Because if I move this out of the way and measure it, I know it's getting hotter than that. But it's hard to measure under the insulating layer.
Makes sense, yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do the forge welding.
Gotcha.
Forge welding is something, if I remember correctly, and again, I may have it wrong, is something that happens around 1900 degrees. This time, though, I think I'm going to do the thing I didn't do last time. And normally I do not wear gloves on my hammer hand because it's, there's a potential for the hammer to slide out of your hand more.
You need the grip, yeah.
I'm well far enough away from the heat here for me to not have to do it on this hand.
Gotcha.
But if I needed to hold a tool, I would definitely grab a glove for this hand. That's the one I normally will grab, not this one. But now that I know how forge welding does.
And so what are you streaming on here? YouTube, Twitch?
Keep going.
Uh,
Yeah, so YouTube, Twitch, Facebook,
oh.
2 different LinkedIn accounts. 2 different Twitter accounts and my LinkedIn account.
Oh, so 5.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
YouTube. And of course, there's the place that I'm streaming it to, which is Restream, that does all that.
Oh,
So if you wanted to watch it on Restream.io, you could too. I don't know anybody that goes to Restream.io.
interesting. So you just stream it to one website, and that website reproduces the stream and all the other ones?
Correct. Yep, there it is.
Oh, wow.
All right, now I've got to go back and look at my tongs again, or else I'm going to get this wrong. Yeah, that's what I thought. It all shifted up when I didn't mean it to.
And so how much can you work with this metal before it starts becoming like are you able to just keep putting it in the fire, heating it back up, and keep working it back to what you need to do? Or is there a point where you kind of mash it out too much that it...
No, you're absolutely right. It is there is you know, the potential for adding too much stress to the metal, but it really depends on the metal. So, for example, if it's, I don't plan on getting that back up to forge temp again. I don't need to. Let me brush this off. If it's you if there's a concern that you've put too much stress in the metal, there's a process you can go through where you basically bring the metal back up to temperature again and then just let it slowly cool. And basically, all those really active atoms, you know, iron atoms, carbon atoms, they'll start slowing down, and the rate at which they slow results in different formation of those atoms.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So if you were to dunk it in the water here,
it would be a fast.
Gotcha.
So it'd be a very active movement, and it would be a very fast quench, cool down or quench.
Okay.
And certain steels behave real well to a fast quench. Other steels, you introduce cracks or potentials for cracks in them if you do that. So if you watch bladesmiths, they have to be very careful about all the heat treating aspects of steel, or else they can result in a knife that will just shatter.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Then there, you know, so I've got tools here that I've made. You go through the exact same process for them. For example, this piece right here is a punch that I use for slitting and then drifting out.
Interesting.
Mostly when I'm making like bottle openers.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cool.
And when I made this, if I want to keep it holding that shape without, you know, losing the sharp edges, I have to go through the same process as the folks who do knife making do.
Gotcha.
Same with this hot cut tool.
Interesting.
You know, if I want it to hold an edge, I have to do the exact same thing.
Gotcha.
And you basically have to know which metals you're dealing with and which quench methods they're good for.
Gotcha.
These metals are perfectly fine to do quench in water.
Okay.
However, there are some metals that if you did it in water, it's way too harsh a quench method that you'll introduce those stresses inside.
Oh.
So yeah, there's a lot of metallurgy involved. What you're seeing me blow off of here is what I was talking about before, forge scale.
Okay, gotcha.
And forge scale is like instant rust.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so let me just brush off some of that off of this. Some of this is forge scale, and some of it is just leftover borax, yeah. And I messed that up. Look at what I did. For leaving it in too long, I burnt off part of my nib.
Oh, up here?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
So I may have to start over.
Oh.
This is all a learning process with the coal, because this is only my third time forging with coal.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I'm learning along the ways how easy it is to get it up to a hot temperature, but also how hard it is to prevent going too hot.
Makes sense. When it's a lot hotter, then
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
So I think I'm going to set this one aside, simply because continuing to work something that ugly when I'm trying to come out with a, you know, something
like
that
this.
nice, which that's the nicest I've done so far. I made this pair as well.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so cool.
And let me cool this off. Yeah, it's not too hot. I made that pair, and I made this pair, but this pair I made out of a pair of blanks that I bought online. So all I had to do was take the square and draw it into this,
Okay.
and then I had to do, they had already cut these parts for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
This was already developed for me.
Okay.
So I just had to do the right twist. You can see it's a twist.
Okay.
And lay it down, and now it has all, and then do the bend overs that this was needed and a twist, and then it has all that I need to be able to I already pulled one out to be able to grab this like that,
Okay, so you can work on
or
it
like
from-
that. Although this tong, I mean this, that's interesting. This head is different than the other ones I've pulled out before. Where did I put the other one? I thought I had 2 out.
Right there.
Oh, there they are. I did pull 2 out. Oh, no, I may need to adjust some tongs. They're not holding as tightly now as they were. So that may mean... Yeah, see, that one's holding nice and tight.
Gotcha.
So I see what's the difference. This one doesn't have the little rise right there in the back
Gotcha.
that this one does. Neither does that one.
So where do you just get these online? Or do you
Yeah, I
just
picked
find
these.
them,
I
or-
bought them all on eBay.
Okay.
So let's do this. I don't need this anyway. I don't know why I'm so stuck on that. That's not the way to do it. Which one of these looks... This one looks the cleanest. I think this is the one I'll do. What do I have time-wise left? I only have 15 minutes left. Yeah, I'm not going to start on it again. Instead, I think I'm going to just fall back to an old project that I like to do, and I'll show you what it is I start my live stream with. Let's see how fast I can get this done. And this hammer might be overkill for this. I've always done it with this hammer. So I'm going to try it with this hammer just because it'd be fun to see. There we go. This forge is a neat forge. It wasn't meant for coal. It was meant for wood. But, okay, so the V shape is made that way so that you take, 2 inch by, 1 by 2 by 6, 7 inches, and you lay them in on the sides. Okay, stack them up on the sides. You start a small fire in the middle, and as time goes on, the lower wood starts cooking into charcoal. Okay, and then you're forging with charcoal. And that's a very good fuel source to forge with. And then the other ones, as they shift down, they'll also cook into charcoal. So that's why there's the scrap wood over there, that once the dry season comes...
And it's not raining all the time.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and split all that up and have that. But then Earl came along and he and his brother Steve provided me with this coal when we took the trip from Dad's cross country with his truck and the trailer a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
And so I've been learning the ins and outs of coal, and as you can see, I have a lot of it. So there's that bag, bucket, and that bag.
Oh, sweet.
So
This looks like that'll last you a while.
oh, it's gonna, yeah, from as quickly, I mean, as quickly as I go through this, which is not quick at all. It looks like it's going to last quite a while. So first thing I'm going to do is just see if I can get this tip to be more useful to me. It's not where I want it right now. It's close, so that should do the trick. Now what I have to do is shape that into a taper that'll actually look good as a leaf.
Gotcha.
So
So what would be so as opposed to like just kind of bending that down, what would be the difference between if you were just like kind of grind it down at the end?
how much metal do you lose? Are you using your metal or are you throwing your metal away? That's what I don't like about one of the things I love Forged in Fire. It's one of my favorite shows, but they don't spend any time during the show showing you how much time is spent at the grinder. They show you just moments of them standing at the grinder. But when they're trying to get a proper bevel and so forth, they spend a lot more time at the grinder than they represent on the show.
Gotcha.
And I don't like spending time at a grinder. Number one, it means I'm throwing away metal.
Makes sense. You're just shaving it away, yeah.
I'm here to smith metal, not throw away metal.
Gotcha.
And so, you know, and I'm going for the skills involved in smithing metal.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so, that's why I'm not busy making knives. I've watched enough actual knife makers and recognize how much file work, how much grind work they're doing, and realize that isn't the work I want to do. The work I want to do is at the anvil. And so I have made knives, and they're forged to finish. They're not knives, and I'm not trying to be a purist or anything. I think that, you know, knife makers have talents I don't have. They have talents I don't want to develop either.
Well, yeah, you don't want to sit for hours at a grinder. That doesn't seem like too much fun.
Well, some people do find it fun. It is a challenge. You do have to learn some skill. The steadiness you have to keep your hands at to be able to not accidentally
Completely just
bend your bevel. So now you've got, you know, facets in your bevel. That's you know, serious effort. It's just not the skills I'm trying to develop. I like the artistic stuff, which is why you see me do you know, leaves and stuff. But here's an example of forge to finish. It's ready for me to go ahead and do a light grind and put a handle on it. That is not from grinding. Now, I did a little bit of grinding just at the edge, just so I could see that it's the edge, you know, that it would hold the edge. But that's to be a barbecue knife. And that's the first one I'm making, and it's for me, because my buddy told me it needed to be for me. The second one is his.
He's like, yeah, go ahead and work on the first one.
Well, and the reason is because there's the leaf springs he gave me from his Nova to make that possible. I mean, not leaf springs, sorry, coil springs.
Oh my god, that's from a Nova?
Yep.
Oh my god, I love that. That's awesome.
Now, the thing I have to be careful with is it's very easy to get this too hot. Oh, let me do it the right way. Yeah, it's like clay. It's like clay. It really moves almost identical to clay, which is why in my freezer is some plasticine clay, specifically for new folks to come out and not take the risk of burning themselves and get the feel for what it means to forge steel, because it really is just like working with that. So there's the beginning of a leaf. You can see how it works. You basically create this kind of a shape on the end. And then later, I will put it up on the edge and smash down on this, and it'll become the leaf shape. So the next thing for me to do is to draw out the stem. And basically, I make a stem that reaches all the way across here.
Okay.
But to do that really only takes about that much metal.
Oh.
Okay?
Wow.
So that's what we'll do now. And yeah, the stream will go just a little long so I can show this to you. This is the project I had been doing, but recently because I was doing the tongs and because I had the railroad spikes, I was like, why don't I make a different project with the leaf than the key ring?
Yeah.
You can see how fast that's heating up, and I'm being very cautious this time. I don't want to burn off my leaf this time. I've burnt off my leaf 2 times now. 3 if you count the one that I did on this stock, but 2 times off of the railroad spike. The same railroad spike, this one. So, there we go. Plenty hot enough to move the metal. So, what we do, we take advantage of the sharp edge there. We're going to go back here. And basically, like toothpaste, we're just squeezing the metal between 2 fingers, if you will.
Like as if you were kind of roll clay in your hands. And
Yep.
Interesting.
I don't have to. Not this size stock.
Gotcha.
And now we'll go in here and just clean it up a little bit because it's getting dark. Once the metal starts losing its glow, it's time to stop trying to move it so much and just redistribute it a little.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm using the rounding side of the hammer, which means it pushes it in all directions,
Gotcha.
but more aggressively than the flatter side.
Gotcha.
So, but because I'm also doing it over this edge, it pushes it all in this direction.
Makes sense.
Okay? So, all right, back in the fire. We'll do it again. And I'm going to go down, clear the holes in the bottom. I'll explain that here in a second. If you look here, you'll see a dial with numbers on it.
Oh, okay.
That's called a dial, a tweer. Now, we'll backtrack and explain tweer. The tweer is the pipe through which air comes.
Gotcha.
There are pot-style forges made with either brake rotor or brake drum that have a pipe coming up from the bottom. Okay. There are side blow forges that literally the pipe sits to the side of the fire and just blows into a pot that you've created in the fire.
Okay.
Or where the fuel will go into. So you can do this with like a box of dirt, for example. And that's what I talk about when I talk to the newbies out there joining my channel. You can do this as simple as have a box of dirt that you dig a little divot into like you're playing marbles. You force a pipe through the dirt, or maybe even up towards the dirt, the pot, such that the air is directed into the pot, and then you get a hairdryer. And there's your blower, charcoal for fuel. You've got a forge. This is not something that can't be done in your backyard, even the smaller backyards in your neighborhood. Have a fire extinguisher at hand. Have a place you can dunk your hand in, and just in case you touch something, even though you keep trying to remember that first rule of blacksmithing the whole time you're doing it.
Everything's hot in here.
Yep. All right. You guys gonna getting ready to go to Pike Place, or?
Yeah, I think that's where our game plan is for today.
If Christina doesn't have plans for me, I wouldn't mind joining.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fun walk.
No, absolutely. I'd love to have you.
I know Christina has not been feeling able to breathe in this weather, but yeah. But that's the only reason she wouldn't go.
We'd love to have you guys.
All right. I need that a little bit thinner, and then it'll be as far across as I need it. What you can see is it gets hot fast, but it also cools off fast at that thin side. And so it's okay because I can get it back in the fire, heat it up pretty quickly.
Gets right back up there because the coal is get it real hot right
Yep.
back again.
Yep.
So would it be a longer process to get it back up to temperature with the charcoal?
Yes. Not terribly long, but yeah, it would be. You can see that was already getting up into dark cherry already there. I can get it up into yellow pretty easy and burn it right off.
And it's the yellower it gets, the hotter the fire is, correct?
Yes. Yeah, as it approaches white, you can see I started to burn it already.
Oh.
It's that easy. All right.
So when I first came up on that first one you were hitting, there were a lot more sparks coming
That's
out.
because I was at forge welding temperature,
Gotcha. Okay.
which is not something I want to do on this one, because if I get that hot here, it is going to come off.
Gotcha. It's such a thinner piece of
Right.
mix.
Now, one of the things that's interesting to note, when it gets this thin, I can actually continue to forge it longer than you think in the blacks versus the reds, because you actually add heat as you're hitting it.
Oh.
The stress of working the metal adds heat.
Interesting. Okay.
You can literally, I've done it once. I want to do it again on film. You can literally start a fire just by starting with the metal and your hammer and a piece of tinder.
And just keep banging on the metal.
Just keep banging on the metal. It'll finally get to red hot. And you should probably start with a bigger piece of metal to begin with. Now you can see the goal is to get it all the way across the face of the anvil.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go ahead and start rounding this, and it'll actually finish that job.
Gotcha.
Now in charcoal, at this point, I'd be like, I'm getting to the point where I don't want to add more fuel.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I don't want to waste charcoal, right?
You don't want to burn it all, when you shut it down, you don't want it to keep on burning.
But this is coal, and coal will just go out. Okay, favorite beverage. It's yours to take and imbibe, folks online. That was officially a drop, just not out of my hand.
Better man than I would have. I would have tried to grab that thing falling.
No, you learn that. All right. You also learn where the hot part and the cold part is on your rod, but that one's more obvious. But instead, because I have what I have here, I can afford to pull more fuel on top to be the insulator and know that it's okay. It's not going to keep burning long after I'm done.
Gotcha.
But you are going to see some sulfur type smoke, I'm sure, because, yeah, there it is.
Oh.
Because the coal behind it now wants to start cooking. Because the coke isn't insulating that from getting any further. Now, why dial a queer? And I burnt it off. That fast.
Wow.
Bummer. And that's the learning curve that I'm having with coal.
I guess that way it doesn't get so hot, so that way it'll just burn off. Did it fall off when it hit, or did it burn off in there?
It burnt off in there. I'm going to have to go hunting.
Oh, and so because you can't leave that piece in there.
Well, I can, but it's not going to do me any good. Now, that was still warm, but not warm enough to burn me.
Yeah. It cools off so quick.
Yeah. Bummer. Well, now I am done. We can come out and do it again another day if you want to see a work from beginning to end.
Oh, yeah, we're still here tomorrow.
There it is. See, it shines redder than everything else.
Oh, I see. Oh, wow.
And the biggest reason to get it out of there is I don't want to start a fire having forgotten it's in there. And then have a lump of melting metal at the bottom of my forge.
Oh, that makes sense.
So there we go. Yet another leaf I can turn into some other project.
Because, yeah, that's the thing, is you can just keep on going with that, too.
But to do that, yeah, I can. But to do that, I do need to finish a pair of flat jaw tongs. Because I can't, you'll see, I can't hold on to this consistently with this pair. This is getting it, but it'll easily come out of there as soon as I hit it.
Gotcha. Because it's only on that one little stress point.
Yep,
There.
yep.
To be in the full flat
And when I say flat jaw, I will probably put the tiniest little V on both, just so that there's some place for it to lock in.
Yeah.
Or I might even go in and put several this way and this way, sort of like you find on pliers.
Oh, yeah.
So that it has a gripping force.
Makes sense.
Because then the piece of metal will fall into one of those grooves.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
But that's what angle grinders are good for.
Okay. Oh,
I can also just do it with the files. I have a set of files in there. So It'll depend on which, how fine. I probably will start with the file, honestly, because I don't think my cutting wheel will do fine enough grooves to really make me happy. So, all right. So, ladies and germs, thank you for joining me. As I say at the end of every one of my live streams, everybody is welcome to warm themselves around my fire. This is a place for everybody to be able to come in and enjoy the craft, learn that it is something that they can start doing, see that somebody who's relatively new at it has some enthusiasm for it and can share what's going on, a place for you to come and converse with others who also find some fun in this. Warm yourself by my fire. Love and light.